Do you ever have one of those weeks where nothing goes right technologically? No sound? No one can hear me?
I can hear you,
Okay.
but I can't see myself. So
I can't see you either.
you know what though?
Now
There's a reason for that.
Your camera
We're learning so much.
I legitimately have had such a for everyone who is tuned into the podcast knows I moved this week. My internet is not working, so I'm currently at my parents' house trying to put this all together. And earlier today, I don't know if you saw the news, but Nico Harrison was compromised to a permanent end by the Dallas Mavericks. And honestly, it's just really fucked up when you see one of your boys going through this. We all have that friend who just can't hold down a job because of some habits that they have. And honestly, if trading your best player randomly in the middle of the night in February because you're bored is a crime, then throw me in prison. That's what I would like to lead off with.
Nico Harrison gave me my first job. My first job, this podcast and 3 months of content that he gave to us. He literally has given Trill and I thousands of dollars worth of content. And
so much joy, so much. Honestly, our brand wouldn't be half the size it is if it weren't for Nico Harrison getting bored and deciding, you know what, we're going to trade our best player for the corpse of Anthony Davis. And hey, at least Max Christie is a nice fifth starter. Do you think Mavericks fans watch Max Christie play and they just even when he plays well, they just boil with rage?
That's what I was just gonna I feel bad because he's actually a pretty good player. He's been a pretty solid starter, but it's just he's become the personification, the manifestation of he's basically Harry Potter and they're the Dursleys. They can't look at him. They want him under the cupboard. They want him out of there. I'm excited to get into this slop trial because I said that Nico was actually kind of an above average GM without looking at this, and I had furious Mavericks fans in my comment that went slightly.
To be clear, your post said above average, but then
yes, yeah, and then I said, and then you also make the worst trade of all time, and they were trying to make the case that he was not an above average GM. I don't know. We'll have an answer at the end of this.
All I'm saying is that, and once again, I'm not defending Nico. I think what he has done, we were pretty critical of Nico even before the Luka trade because we thought, as we've said many times before, we thought that he did moves that were kind of erratic and desperate, and just blew all these assets for no apparent reason, which we'll get to here, but. I would say that Mavericks fans certainly were not feeling that way during the NBA Finals 2 years ago.
No,
when he pulled off a bunch of stuff at the deadline and helped them get to the finals. So once again, we'll go through everything here, but before we get into it, I do just want to shout out the power chat we have here from Edgecombe Booster, who is absolutely correct. His biggest mistake was not taking VJ Edgecombe. Clearly no bias built into this comment at all. I think it's just an objective fact at this point. I know Cooper Flagg had his breakout game in a loss last night. Classic Cooper Flagg. But the long and short of this is that he could have saved his job if he just VJ Edgecombe. Certainly not any other rookies performing well in the top 4 as well right now. Shout out to Dylan Harper and Con Knipple. But anyway, and yeah, this person has you in a headlock. The most millennial host must make a reference to Harry Potter. Thank you. That is a perfect way to describe this podcast and have both of us in a headlock.
I give the people what they want. They tune in to watch me say frick. Darn.
Shucks.
Shucks. Dang it. You guys want to hear about New Girl? Here, Trill and I are actually, instead of doing the Nico Harrison thing, we're gonna do our top 20 favorite Nick Miller moments. Who wants it?
Two Nick Millers. That's the name of the show.
Yeah.
But let's actually get into some of the stuff before we actually hop straight into the Slop Trial and we go down his entire transaction history here. I would like to just run through. Sam, don't do the thing where you can't have a conversation because you're just locked in on chat the whole time.
Sorry, Oldemort got to me, but I'll lock in after this. Yeah. Oldemort was a pretty good one.
We can riff with chat plenty while we're doing the Slop Trial.
Okay,
so anyway, we're gonna go through his transaction history in a second and talk about some of the moves that he made as the GM of the Mavericks before the Luka trade specifically. But before we get into that, I do just want to say it was very funny over the last week having all of the stuff come out. Like, you knew they were getting ready to axe him when it was like Tim McMahon was like, Nico Harrison actually spit on some child that had cancer at a public event that the Mavericks were hosting. Like, every piece of information that came out was just burying him. And my whole time I was like, you don't need to do any of this.
Yeah, you don't need to like prime the you don't need to like till the earth to like get everyone ready for a Nico Harrison. You don't need to soft launch the do the hit piece. They do this where they do the soft hit piece, fire the guy, and then do the hard hit piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're gonna get that. I'm sure Tim McMahon is clickety clacking away on all the stuff that maybe should have been reported. I love when they were like report all this stuff after like the guy is fired. We're gonna have all this stuff that like didn't come out while Nico was still the GM that is like now gonna come out. But I think I mean Nico apparently, according to like some people, like he was also just like very nasty to like everyone also like on top of everything else.
Well, that's part of the hit piece. That was, once again, the one thing that I did find to be deplorable and just disgusting was the thing about, I think his name's Casey Smith. He was a trainer that worked with the team that was apparently very close with both Dirk and Luka. And he apparently did actually fire him over Zoom while Casey was home with his sick mother. So obviously, if these things that are coming out now are true, there's some pretty fucked up shit in there. And it's not a stretch to say that a person that would be as crazy to trade Luka Dončić might be able to do some of these things as well. But having said that, you could have fired Nico Harrison the second he brought this trade idea to you. You didn't have to have all this. Once the trade went through, everything that has happened since or everything that happened before is kind of moot, because we know the reason that he's being fired right now is because the team is underperforming. Why is the team underperforming? Because you traded Luka Dončić in the middle of his prime for an injured Anthony Davis.
Beginning of his prime.
Yeah,
I would even argue. Like,
yes.
Like
he was just ahead of the curve.
Yes. Like seriously, it's I can't stress enough how much nobody is fucking surprised by this. This is like insane. The other really bad thing is that Anthony Davis looks like he got plugged into the air pumps from Mario Party, and they've like been toggling A and B on him for like just basically the entire offseason. I don't want to be like mean, but like there is a little bit of a double standard here. Like, are you trading Luka Dončić because he's fat, and then Anthony, it's fine for Anthony Davis to come in out of shape? Like, it's kind of crazy. Like,
I mean, the food must be great in Dallas. I mean, I've never been, but I'm assuming I would also gain
evil city. I'm
a
sorry.
lot. Yeah,
it radiates. There's no surprise to me, but my New England blood called out to me that like when I was stepped into that city, and they were like, they kill people like you here. They had to kill JFK here. Like Poppy was, now Lee Harvey, you're gonna get up in there in that book depository, and don't make sure not to mention me, the assistant director of the FBI, or sorry, CIA. I got a campaign to run here a little later on.
The greatest cultural exports from Dallas. Killing JFK, Post Malone, the Dallas Cowboys. Just saying. I mean, these are the most significant things that have ever happened in Dallas. Having said that, I do have to give a little bit of defense here for Dallas. Tyrese Maxey is from Dallas, so
Okay,
you cooked on that one, Dallas. Actually, guards from Dallas are kind of cooking right now. Cade, Maxey, yeah, no, they're going hard right now. But let's get into. Is Marcus Smart from Dallas?
Flower Mound, which is close enough. So.
I'm impressed you got Marcus Smart into the Nico Harrison Slop Trial episode. I'll say that much.
Brian reminded me, so we're good. Keontae George, look, is that the secret? Is that the new Kentucky hack?
Go.
Is you just now that Reed and Rob ruined that, like
Cason Wallace is also from there.
Wow.
I forgot. Yeah, Cason Wallace is from Dallas. There's a lot of good guards from Dallas. I'm just saying that's something to keep an eye on, folks. Apparently, new Seattle just dropped.
Let's go.
So let's get into. I think you're gonna laugh out loud when we pull up Nico Harrison's transaction history and you see the first thing.
2021.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you see the first thing he did, you're gonna probably laugh.
Let's go.
So the first thing he did was hire Jason Kidd as head coach.
Wait, how did I forget that?
First day on the job. Said, we're going to hire Jason Kidd, who, look, Jason Kidd, regardless of my feelings about him as a human being, don't think he's a very good one, has had some pretty good years as a coach. Also, I do wonder.
He's also had some bad ones as a coach. We
certainly had some bad ones. Certainly. Yeah. I'm not. He's coached a lot of talented players as well. Giannis, Luka, he's had a long list of good players that he has coached over the years. And who knows, we never got the full story on the, I'm sure eventually there will be a book written about the Luka trade and we'll get more information, but I'm not positive that their relationship, Jason Kidd and Luka Dončić's relationship, was great towards the end of the tenure there. But I do think it's very funny that he hired Jason Kidd as his first ever thing on the job. And look, they got to a conference finals and a finals.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that I get, as whatever I think of Jason Kidd, that does matter, like quite a bit. So
yeah,
the only non-Carlisle like conference finals appearance for the franchise, right? They don't have any success outside of
the Carlisle years. Yeah.
Right,
it was really just like, Dirk and Carlisle. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something, man.
He did inherit Luka Dončić in 2021. Like, consider a player who was the youngest first team All NBA player in the NBA when he became the head coach of the team. Like, Luka had already made a first team. And by the way, just a side note, they had Jalen Brunson on the team at the time too. So it's not like they didn't inherit a lot of talent, these two, Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison. So first official move, trades Josh Richardson to the Boston Celtics for Moses Brown. Was also a trade exception for Dallas that I don't believe they ever used. But we will get that.
I think that was kind of just a salary dump. I think Josh Richardson was making around $11 million a year at that point.
Yep, we had just traded him a year before we traded Josh Richardson for Seth Curry.
Yeah. And we got the Moses Brown. So that's like fine to good move. I mean, nowadays, if somebody pulled this off, you'd be like, holy shit! But salary cap was like a little more fluid then. Grant Williams and CJ McCollum hadn't ruined the NBA in slop season yet. So,
well, also Josh Richardson wasn't seen as like, Josh Richardson had a weird year in Philly, had a bad year in Dallas, but he wasn't seen at the time as like a complete nothing because of his years in Miami. And honestly, I know we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before. Josh Richardson, I don't know if you remember this. I know you didn't like the Josh Richardson experience. In classic Celtics fashion, he actually did shoot way above his head with the Celtics. He shot 55% from mid-range, and I think he shot 39% from three.
I remember, because everyone was yelling at me that he was actually good because he was shooting well.
But he at least got to the point where his value with the Celtics made it so that you basically only had to trade a first-round pick, which turned into a late first-round pick for Derek White. That was really the only thing that you had to send out in that trade, plus like a protected, a top one protected swap in 27, I think, or 28. for Derek White.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was something like that.
Everyone crashed out over that at the time. And I remember being like, you just got Josh Richardson for Derek White. Shut the fuck up. And so once again, this move is kind of inconsequential for the Mavericks. It was really just a salary relief move. But it was fine. He didn't give up anything to get off Josh Richardson. So
I want to hop in and clarify a couple of things because Will had a good point. Did he fire Carlisle? Because that would be a huge stain on the resume.
No, Carlisle,
but he resigned.
Down.
Yes.
Carlisle stepped down.
Donnie Nelson was fired.
By the way, why did Carlisle step down?
Luka, right?
I don't think him and Luka had a great relationship at the end.
Yeah.
Now, look, not defending Nico Harrison at all for the trade. We will get to that, and I never have. I never will. We were absolutely floored the night of the trade. It gets even more insane with retrospect. But Carlisle left because him and Luka reportedly were not getting along, and he didn't want to continue coaching him. Carlisle's gone on to have a lot of success. He had success before Luka. He had success with Luka. So I think that move is not on Nico Harrison because he inherited that situation. And look, all things considered, it's very obvious a large part of their success. If you were doing the success pie during these years, Luka gets probably 80% of that credit. Jason Kidd's got to get a little bit, and that was a fine hire ultimately. And he didn't fire the previous head coach. So, all right. So
the only other thing I just wanted to clarify, because we have to respect Avery Johnson and Don Nelson. So obviously forgot about the 06 finals appearance, very famously. I memory hold that.
That was Avery Johnson, right?
Yeah, it was Avery Johnson was the coach.
Yeah,
and then
Avery and Don Nelson was before that, but then he went to the Warriors and then they beat them.
Yes,
in the first round in the 1-8 matchup. Wow, yeah, good call. Yeah, I mean they had multiple different coaches during the Dirk years, but obviously Carlisle was the one who helped them get to the mountaintop with that kind of random collection of really good players and Dirk. Yeah. So all right, sign Nate Hinton to a 2-way contract. Signed Reggie Bullock to a multi-year contract. The Reggie Bullock deal was actually really funny. I don't know if you remember this, but Reggie still had some juice left. And he signed with the team and had like a career year. And it looked like a scam contract. Yeah. Because he shot way above his head and was a good fit with Luka, if I remember correctly. And then the next year fell off a cliff. Yeah. And so then it was complete opposite where it was like, Reggie Bullock is now not on a scam contract. If anything, it's probably a contract you want to get rid of. And we'll get to them salary dumping him by the end of this. I believe it was a 3-year, like $27 million deal that they signed here.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I remember him being really good. Was that the conference finals run year? Yeah. Yes. He had he was kind of lights out. Like
2021, 2022. And then the next year it was Jover. He fell off a cliff very quickly. Reggie Bullock was always one of those guys that kind of just was like a bench guard / wing that was his entire value was just tied to how well he shot from the corners on 3-pointers for most of his career. And he had one really good year and the one really bad year. And then he was basically out of the league after that. So shout out to Reggie Bullock though. Awesome guy.
Awesome. Yeah. Great guy. We love Reggie Bullock. Just to be clear, 3-year deal, $10 million a year, and some non-guarantees on the last year. So I think that's a positive signing, to be totally honest.
This is fine.
Yeah.
So signed Tim Hardaway Jr. to a multi-year contract. Very funny that Tim Hardaway Jr., the player who is now once again Tim Hardaway Jr., speaking of streaky shooters that have their value tied to their shooting. Tim Hardaway Jr. with the Mavericks at one point looked like the worst contract in the NBA, a fine contract, the worst contract, a fine. Every time he got extended, it was like, yeah, that's fine. And then like a year in, you're like, oof, don't want to pay him that. And then he would go on these heaters where you were like, it's fine to have Tim Hardaway at that number. And now, funny enough, he's having a little bit of a career resurgence over this last year or two, last year with the Pistons and then this year with the Nuggets. But now he's a veterans minimum player. It's a very different time in Tim Hardaway Jr.'s career. At this time, this was like a $17 or $18 million contract a year for Tim Hardaway. And if I remember correctly, they acquired him in the Porzingis trade. And he was just kind of an add-in to make the salary work because Porzingis had not gotten a max contract at that point.
Oh,
from the Knicks, right?
Right. Correct. Yeah.
Which was before Nico. That was in 2 to 3 years before they hired him.
God, was that how that went?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was kind of his second. Because Tim Hardaway Jr. is so funny because he signed with the Hawks because the Knicks didn't want to pay him, and then like a year later he was like back with the Knicks.
Yeah, he went back to the Knicks, and I actually think if I remember correctly, he signed in free agency with the Knicks, and as Will points out, a lot of people saw the Tim Hardaway Jr. as a horrible contract when it was included in the Porzingis trade as well. By the way, and it ended up being fine, and then it ended up being bad, and then it ended up being fine, and then eventually they end up salary dumping him as well later.
What was this August 9th extension they signed him to?
I think don't hold me to this.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like a 4-year, $17 million per year deal. It was a long deal, if I remember correctly. I think it just expired. And I think that
4 years, $74 million.
So yeah, is that not exactly what I was thinking?
Yeah. So that's interesting. I think that I skew that's kind of a bad contract. Like,
definitely. I mean, he had like 1.5 decent years on that contract. They should not. One of the things you'll learn as we do this thing, besides the trades where he was just like, well, we got to make a trade. One of the things that Nico did was that he kind of, no pun intended, overextended guys. Like we just saw it again with Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. Not to say that you shouldn't pay your players when they play well for you. Like I think it is the side of a good organization that takes care of players personally, especially ones that have helped you get to the finals and stuff like that. But both of those guys specifically, like more so Gafford and Tim Hardaway Jr., you really need to rush to lock those guys up. Like, I don't think you were losing them, but at the time, 2021, keep in mind, shooting is a premium. Shooting is a huge premium in the NBA at this point. It's kind of like all teams care about, to be honest with you.
Really,
And so that was part of the reason why Tim Hardaway Jr. is someone who ends up making well over $100 million in their career, because he came into the NBA at the perfect time for a player like himself. Yeah, this was around the time that Bertans' contract was signed. Joe Harris got a huge bag.
Shamet got a bag, if I recall correctly. Like,
yeah, he got okay money. But the long and short of this is that he got paid because shooters got paid at the time.
Yes.
And they had just traded away Seth Curry a year before. They needed shooting. So they got Reggie Bullock. They got Tim Hardaway. This is a fine offseason, really. Like the Tim Hardaway contract, not a great extension to be clear, but like signing Reggie Bullock, dumping Josh Richardson. They signed Sterling Brown and Boban. They didn't really turn out to be anything. Eugene Omiori, I don't know who that is. 2-way contract. None of these guys turned out. Carlick Jones, who is a Olympics legend, is on here, but no one here. It is even really worth talking about until we get to Frankie Smokes, who is definitely worth talking about. I do remember this little possible career revival with Frankie Smokes.
God, I thought this was going to be a steal. I'm going to be totally honest. I cards on the table. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Frankie Smokes.
This was after he did not get a extension with the Knicks. I can't remember if he was a free agent or if he was included in the Porzingis trade, to be completely honest with you. I think he was a free agent.
I believe he was a free agent.
Yeah. So, but none of these moves have turned out to be anything, consequential for the team in the upcoming season. Theo Pinson, great locker room guy, signed to a 10-day. Huge, also created a lot of great podcast segments out of this, which is ultimately the most important thing to us, that we get a lot of great clips from Theo Pinson's podcast and the stories from the Mavericks. Just real quick, we did get a power chat. I want to shout out Coachy here. Thank you for the power chat. Any thoughts on the Joel thing? Honestly, I'm not really that concerned. Maybe this is knock on wood. I know Joel's out tonight. He has some pain in his knee. I'm not really that worried personally, because I figured that Joel would have some flare-ups, would have some issues. I'm glad to see, I felt like he was starting to look more like himself. I hope that this isn't a complete regression for his knee. And I hope they're just being really cautious. But right now, I'm not worried. If he's out for a week and then we don't get an update, I'll start to get a little bit worried. But happy that Joel has started to look a little bit more like himself, and hopefully they can kind of maintain his knee and make it so that he can continue to play, because it's been a lot of fun. I've been someone who kind of wrote off the idea of Joel Embiid ever being healthy again. So good, good thing. It is the other Nafe, the one that he had a procedure on this offseason. But thank you for the power chat. All right. So he signed Brandon Knight. God, look at these guys he signed.
Dude, I just went through the 2021-2022 Mavericks rosters. They had 25 different players on the roster. Like there was
Cocaine Nico was cooking early.
Dude, Isaiah Thomas made an appearance. Charlie Brown Jr. Was on the team at one point in time. Marquise Chris also on here. Trey Burke.
This is a little Troy Weaver coded. I'm not gonna lie.
Seriously, this is kind of a crazy thing. Yeah. So
most of this is inconsequential. It's just a bunch of people that we know. Isaiah Thomas, Marquise Chris, Theo Pinson. These are guys we know, but nothing that really truly matters until we get to the trade deadline in 2022. By the way, I'm realizing now that he doesn't really have like a super long history to go through here because he was only the GM for 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
That's crazy when you consider how much shit has happened with the Mavericks over the last 4 years.
He really has like presided over like just chaos.
It's just been since the second he got. It's like a Trump term. Like he just gets in and just wreck shit. He just from day one. He's just fucking removing regulations.
We're building a beautiful Anthony Davis ballroom. It's gonna be wonderful. He's gonna come in. He's gonna play defense. Everyone's gonna love it, folks.
Cooper Flag. He's the great white hope, folks. He's like the Sidney Sweeney of basketball. That's what I call him.
And we had another white fellow. He was quite fat, though. We didn't like him. We got rid of him. He didn't work. Bye-bye, Luka.
Let's go.
American made Cooper Flag. Unlike 8
GMs fired per year. There we go. That's some pretty elite slander, I gotta admit. So what do we think? I mean, this Kristaps Porzingis deal. I remember thinking this at the time. I was like, you know what? Kristaps Porzingis might be Jover.
I thought he was cooked.
Yeah,
if you go back and you watch that
kind
Slop
of a good
stream,
deal.
Yeah, I remember being like at the time of the Slop stream when it happened, being like, well, Porzingis is cooked. They're just getting off his contract. And then he had like a mini revitalization with the Wizards, went on to obviously become a big part of that really good Celtics team in the regular season. Didn't play that much in the playoffs, but did at least have, funny enough, his best game as a Celtic, probably game 1 of the finals, came against the Mavericks, and everyone in the moment being like, wow, can't believe they traded this guy away 2 years ago. But in 2 years, a lot can change, as we're learning as we go through this right now. Think about where the Mavericks were at 2 years ago.
Kristaps has gone through 2 more he's irreparably broken cycles since this trade happened.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate career arc for him in terms of the injuries and everything that has happened to him, that his value has just always been all over the place. And this was basically Washington getting rid of the Davis Bertans contract, which was instantly one of the worst contracts in NBA history. Basically never provided any sort of real value. He was honestly at least had some moments on the Mavericks, like where he would just come in off the bench and make a bunch of threes, but he was very quickly out of the NBA after this. And this was, keep in mind, this was only 2 years after they signed that deal, and it was a 5-year deal. So it wasn't nothing getting off of that contract and getting back Porzingis, but ultimately Dinwiddie was someone who really helped the Mavericks in that conference finals run.
Yeah.
He was good for them in the regular season and in the playoffs. And honestly, the thing that and obviously he later gets flipped in the Kyrie deal, but the thing that I think that I might have underestimated with this Lakers team is very similar to what Nico and what the Mavericks have always tried to do, which is like having a bunch of creation around Luka. Now, Dinwiddie spotted up a lot. He shot a lot of threes with the Mavericks and stuff, but having guys who could dribble, shoot, and pass around Luka is actually a really good formula.
Who knew?
Well, look, because in my mind, when you have, now look, I think the NBA has changed a lot since like the Rockets for example, like the Harden Rockets. But I think of Harden and Luka kind of in a similar pool, right? Where it's like prime Harden and prime Luka are both guys who are going to have spacers. They're going to need a lob big. They're going to have someone who sets screens. They're going to get to the basket. They're going to draw fouls. They're going to throw lobs. They're going to create for themselves.
It's not going to be egalitarian.
Not a lot of egalitarian offense.
Yeah.
But the best versions of those teams, right, have always had multiple guys that they can throw. Normally at least one like all-star level guy, whether it's Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, the end of Jalen Brunson's tenure with the Mavericks, now Austin Reeves with the Lakers, and then everyone else is kind of the defense, the rebounding, the shooting, whatever. So what I'm trying to get at here is like Dinwiddie being a secondary creator that could play with Luka and also play when Luka went to the bench turned out to be a pretty big help for that Mavericks team. Now, Dinwiddie fell off a cliff after this and became someone that's disliked by pretty much every fan base that he plays for at this point. He's not someone who's like beloved by a lot of fan bases, especially I think Mavericks fans are included in that because he actually ended up going back on a buyout at one point and didn't really do anything with them.
Also, Sam Bankrun Fraud fans, FTX fans, many don't. It's spurned by the crypto community.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when will Spencer Dinwiddie find a home?
He's your 76ers. New Kyle Lowry just dropped.
Let's go. We need more mentors.
You need more mentor guards.
We need more mentor guards who can never play unless we're up 40 points against the worst team in the NBA. By the way, I do just want to say, fun fact before we move on from this. If you remove minutes filters on Basketball Reference, the number one player in BPM right now is Kyle Lowry. He has a 46 BPM. He has played 2 minutes this season. He is the greatest player in the NBA, 4 times better than Jokic. I think if I were another team, I would seriously consider giving up multiple draft picks and possibly a young player for a veteran presence like Kyle Lowry, who is not only a great locker room presence, someone who has a great BPM, but also is an Amazon Prime correspondent at the same time.
Is that true? They have him working media at the games at the same time.
He was interviewing VJ in the locker room before a game, and then he was like, all right, he's got to go because he's playing tonight. And I was like, bro, you're on the team. Why are you doing this before the game?
That's so funny, interviewing your teammate, and then it pans to you, and you're like taking off your suit and putting on your fucking warm-ups. I want to highlight, Lydia had a very good point here. The Dinwiddie Kuzma beef is Kuzma's only narrative win. Which is very important. That's also,
it's like when the Sixers beat the Nets in a narrative battle, and it's like you will only beat the Brooklyn Nets in narrative battles. Everyone else will own you. You will be forever stuck in the cuck chair. You should be ashamed of yourself. You are the sin eater for the NBA, except for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say. Like he's like so libertarian coded, and like even you lost Russillo, man. He thought the Din shitty was very funny. Like he can't win. Yeah, it is.
Even your fellow Republicans are leaving you hanging out to dry.
Yeah,
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. That is a good point. I didn't think about that he is like very much the fucking like, oh no, the droopy dog of like
yeah, why doesn't anybody like me?
So all right, signed Moses Wright, selected Wendell Moore Jr., but that was a draft night trade. Oh, here, look who is involved here, Sam.
Ooh, Anton Watson was later selected. So
do you remember him?
Celtics, yes, I do. Celtics legend.
Legend Antoine Watson was later selected with a second-round pick from this trade. So they traded a 2024 second-round pick and a 2028 second-round pick to the Kings for Jaden Hardy on 2022 draft night. I actually like this flyer for them at the time. I remember being a little bit high. I should have not been as high on Jaden Hardy in that draft in retrospect. But I thought he was an NBA player. I thought he had a weird year with the G League Ignite, and I thought that he was very worthy of a late first round pick in that draft. I wanted the Sixers to take him. We worked him out. Unfortunately, he has not really worked out in the NBA. actually ended up getting a second contract from the Mavericks. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I didn't know that. That is, I mean, if it was
It's a small deal.
Yeah,
It's
I was going to say, if it's a small deal, who really cares?
We'll get to it, but it's not anything that it's one of those deals that when it was signed, I was like, if he turns out to be decent, this is a scam. It's the Deuce McBride thing.
Yeah.
Where it's, or like the AJ Mitchell thing, where it's like when you have so much money in the books. And by the way, this was at the time they still had Luka.
Mm-hmm.
When you have so much money on the books, you need to try to get scam contracts anywhere you possibly can in order to, like, you know, especially now with these aprons, in order to be able to just like manipulate the roster and maneuver stuff. And so the long and short of this is that they tried to sign Jaden Hardy to what they thought was going to be a value deal. Turned out not to really be anything that great. As someone points out in the comments, he's a great shooter, but he really does not have a bag. And that is very funny because he was kind of a hooper prospect.
Even knowing what we know, though, I still think this is a fine move. I mean, second round picks are fake. They're Fugazi.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
By the way, did you see this? Former Mavericks GM.
Is that real? I'm so used to being sent out.
Kevin Gray Sports is from Dallas.
Okay.
He is a Dallas guy. Like, he's like a reporter. So,
okay.
And he said he changed his official IG profile to unemployed after being dismissed by the team today. It just says girl dad unemployed. Okay, so for how long until Nico Harrison is brought on as a consultant by the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the heel turn he's got to make, because if fans, even if I was trying my best, if fans like chanted for me to be fired and I was like a petty guy like that, I would just lean in. I would just be like, okay, watch this. And, go, hey, Rob Pelinka, you kind of owe me one, man. Give me a job.
Yeah, that's like Hulk Hogan joining WCW and the NWO in the 90s, when it was like everyone was over Hulk Hogan and he wasn't the hero anymore. So he was like, what if I just turned out to be a bad guy? Yeah. Like, you should fully lean into that. That's like an ultimate heel turn for Nico Harrison, just to be like, yes, I did this as an inside job for the Lakers. I suicide bombed the Mavericks, and here we are.
Everyone's saying, oh, like Luka hates him. You guys have all fallen for it. This is wrestling. This is kayfabe.
This is a ruse.
The kayfabe. You've fallen for kayfabe. He's gonna come out. Oh my God, Nico Harrison's the third man. He's the third man. This is, again, we should have wrestling style like plot lines in the NBA. You should be allowed to do this. By God, that's Nico Harrison's music. Cocaine knows. Cocaine knows.
So be it. By the clip starts playing.
Yep.
So the thing that I'm the thing that we've learned over the last few weeks in the NBA is that nothing behind the scenes could be going on that's shady that would manipulate the outcome of games or teams or seasons, right?
No, absolutely not.
That's what we've learned.
Not Adam Silver's NBA.
No
way, sir.
He clearly rules with an iron fist and would never let any of this come to the surface. So that would never happen, you know?
They doesn't have the Draft King mentats in his fucking room with their eyes rolling up in the back of their head, telling him to allow over under micro bets on when someone will be subbed in. Do they have that? I almost guarantee you they have that.
Oh, I'm here. Polymarket has a new line on how many days until Nico Harrison gets hired by the Lakers as an executive.
They definitely would. Man.
Bet on everything.
God damn.
Bet on everything. Throw your life savings away to gambling. Anyway. Okay, so after
everyone
this,
else is stupid. You will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, this was this trade where they selected Wendell Moore. They traded him to Minnesota, so I'm sure that was either not included here or we'll get to it eventually. It wasn't finalized until later. But yeah, turning a late first round pick into Jaden Hardy and including 2 second round picks in there, not great, but not the end of the world. It's whatever. These are the kind of trades that now, like, if they had just stayed at 22. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm forgetting. This was the Christian Wood trade that we're about to talk about.
Yes.
That's why I completely forgot it.
Yes.
Which was Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, Boban, Wendell Moore. By the way, Do you remember this trade, Sam?
I remember the Christian Wood trade. Yes.
Yeah.
I was winding up. I'll let you cook first. I'll tell you what my thoughts were on.
Well, no, I don't. The sheer amount of players involved in this.
Yeah,
that was the big shock for me with this trade when it happened. Was like, I always go in the trade machine and do 5-for-1 trades, but I didn't know that a GM would ever do it. And then, of course, the one who does it is Nico Harrison. And yeah. And this was before, if I remember correctly, this was before the Malcolm Brogdon trade, right? It was around the same time.
I believe so. What I would say about this is that it is June. You can do these. It's a lot easier to do these like
before the draft. It was the night before the draft that they did this.
Yeah.
And by the way, you could kind of nitpick and say, we got Andrew Nembhard was on the board at the end of the first round. Most of the end of that first was kind of nothing. It was like Walker Kessler was off the board, Jake LaRavia was off the board, Christian Brown was off the board, and then you have to go to all the way to Nembhard before you get a player that matters. That was kind of drafted in that range. And I know I said it wrong. Shut the fuck up. I've had a really hard fucking week. Shut the fuck up. So
we do spoonerisms here at YKB quite often. It's fine.
Jesus. Oh, it was supposed to be a play on Nico. There you go.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So, all right. They traded him. So they traded for Christian Wood. By the way, this
is Nico's worst move.
All right, hold up. Before you cook, before I give you let you ISO here for a second, I was not on the Christian Wood is good or great. Like, I was not Kevin O'Connor, right?
Yes.
Where Kevin O'Connor, one of his like infamous L's is being like, this guy could be like a mini Anthony Davis. Like, no, Christian Wood was never that.
Yeah.
I remember at the time being like a skilled big who can shoot, and like maybe we'll change his role with Luka. I don't hate the flyer. I think it's fine. The end of the first, you're lucky to get an NBA player. They walked out of the draft with Jaden Hardy, who I thought could have went at the end of the first. I thought the process of this was fine, but the results were obviously terrible. None of that ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was the 26th pick. I forget that season they were actually like pretty good. Like they
turned it around.
Yeah,
both times they made runs, they turned it around midway through the season and became like really good.
They were such a funny fucking franchise.
They were the Miami Heat.
Yeah, they really were, like Heat West. Yeah, like, but like kind of in some ways, like kind of the opposite, where instead of like Heat culture, this was like they had to send Michael Finley to go like collect Luka's beer, like after the things. Like there was a lot of stuff like that. I mean, honestly, this is not. I remember despising this move because I thought Christian Wood was like not someone who could like play with like Luka because he like likes to cook.
Sure.
And
that was right.
I mean, correct. But like looking back on it, this really isn't, you are just giving up like expiring guys, you know.
It was basically no rotation players. I looked at it as like no rotation players plus a late first.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the draft, when we found out that they walked away with Jaden Hardy, who could have went with the 26th pick in the draft, I was like, this is fine. But ultimately, what really happened is that when you're building around a player like Luka, or you're building around any superstar, right? We've seen this with the Bucks, right? Where like the Bucks finally have a few of these guys where when you nail an end of the first, beginning of the second, Kelvin Booth tried this with Denver and failed spectacularly around this time, where you were just trying desperately to get guys on rookie contracts. And that's the only element of that in retrospect that I don't like about this, is that like you probably were better off taking 2 swings on guys you could have maybe hit on with rookie contracts than trading for Christian Wood, who was, yes, he might help you a little bit now, but he did not turn out to. But if he plays really well for you, you have to pay him a lot of money. Yeah. And then like, at what point can you pay all of these guys money? And this was, by the way, the same offseason they let Jalen Brunson walk.
Yeah. So can we, I guess
let's talk about that.
That's not going to show up in this list. So let's start there, because that was the number one thing I got pushback on from everybody. Like, can I just say that maybe I'm wrong? I don't think Nico Harrison really had anything to do with that. I think that was a Mark Cuban call. I really do. Like,
It might have been above
forget
him.
that Mark Cuban still owned the team at this point, and he's like quietly one of the most meddlesome like owners of all time. The fact that like they won the title and like some other stuff came up. This seemed like it was bad blood between Rick Brunson and Mark Cuban. I don't think Nico Harrison had anything to do with this, to be totally honest.
So if I remember correctly, it was one of those things where the Mavericks had an offer on the table for Jalen Brunson and they took it back. And they were supposed to give him what would have been one of the greatest scam deals in the history of the NBA. It was like $12 million or something. But in 2021, if I remember correctly, he was benched by Carlisle in the playoffs. Brunson had this kind of, he was very clearly a solid NBA player.
Yeah.
But he had this meteoric rise over this season. And it was past the deadline that they could give him the extension, right? So once they couldn't give him the extension, then it became a situation where they couldn't really offer him the money anymore. And it was obvious he had outplayed that. And then he hit free agency as an unrestricted free agent because he signed a second-round contract.
I was going to say hit free agency. The other thing that's very clear here is there was a tremendous a god level amount of tampering, and it's kind of insane that the Knicks never faced any consequence.
Now look, I do think that Nico, this is where I think Nico deserves a little bit of the blame.
Oh yeah.
A good GM would convince Mark Cuban to sign that contract.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
There are players that very obviously are like a good, and a lot of this is hindsight bias for me, because if you're building around Luka, a small guard who isn't great on defense, we haven't seen a ton of success with it, right? Like that's kind of the idea at this point. And there's a little bit of hindsight bias here, but it was $455, 4 years, $55 million for a guy who was a 6 man of the year candidate at a minimum. And by the way, this was before the aprons. This was before the new CBA. This was before teams were kind of conservative about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very different NBA now than it was like a few years ago. We just saw how much money Tim Hardaway Jr. got. We talked about less than a year before this, right? Mm-hmm. So he goes into free agency. He ends up going to the Knicks. I also just want to point out, like, it obviously you should have just signed Brunson, and if you had to trade him later, you trade him later. Jalen Brunson going to his own team was the best thing that could have ever happened for him.
Yeah.
Failing to let him out of the building is an objective failure, just like they did with Steve Nash years before. It's not to defend Cuban or Nico or anything, but Jalen Brunson going to the Knicks and becoming a top 12 player in the NBA, that would have never happened with the Mavericks. Like, he would have been a sidekick and he would have been decent. But the long and short of it, as someone points out, was back then the NBA was re-sign your guys and figure it out later. That they happen to not do it. You know, they have egg on their face. It's a bad move to let that guy out of your building. And it's also hard, like, to be like, yeah, well, he turned around and we'll talk about the Kyrie trade. But like, we'll talk about the Kyrie trade. He wouldn't have had to do the Kyrie trade if he didn't let Brunson out of the building. Or he could have just done Brunson for Kyrie straight up and kept Dorian Finney-Smith and a first-round pick and had that to go make another trade, or just had Dorian Finney-Smith on that team that made a run.
Bag and Panda says, how does a good GM stop a guy from signing with the team his dad hired? Do they sign his mom? And yes. Lock it. You go in there, you find a cousin, you find an uncle, you find a mom, an aunt, a matriarch or a patriarch of some kind. You start a cold war of hiring Brunsons in the NBA.
We've seen it. We've seen it with LeBron, people adjacent to LeBron before. Yeah. Why not? Or like years ago, I don't know if you remember this, there was a little bit of a cold war going on with the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. The Blazers signed his cousin Keljin Blevins.
Forgot about that, dude.
Who is might be the worst player that's actually played real minutes in the NBA. And he was just not an NBA player at all. The Sixers hired his shooting coach, who he had been working with since he was in college at Weber State. Phil something. I can't remember, Phil Beckett or something. They hired him in order to try to recruit him. So yes, the answer is yes. If you're trying to retain a player, do whatever the fuck you need to do.
We are moving towards an entourage style NBA where you are going to need to identify who is Johnny Drama and who is Turtle and hire those guys if you want someone for some of these things. If you want Vince to do the movie, if you want Giannis to sign your thing, like, look, they literally sign Johnny Drama every year in Thanasis. Every year Thanasis is re-signed. I'm just saying, and he's still a buck. So
I just hope Ari Gold is not their agent.
Yeah. Do you know?
Yeah.
Bartlestein
might be the Ari Gold of the NBA. I don't know. I've never heard any behind the scenes stories about Bartlestein though.
Is it? I feel like it might actually just be
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul. Yeah, it might actually just be Rich Paul.
I feel, well, first off, we never talked about Rich Paul getting a podcast with the Ringer.
That's unreal. Like, go back in time, Bill. Like, say what you will about Bill, dude.
He drops beefs.
He evolves with he does not let his priors like stake him down at all. Like that is why Bill is a great white shark. He does not stop swimming. He is a media mogul.
He's not a podcast man. He's a podcast man.
oh my god. Oh man.
So
I really enjoyed that.
I will not take Will's bait in the comments about Joel Embiid's knee. He's
We're
fine. He's fine. He's fine.
Talking about happy things. It's fine.
Yep, he's fine. So I can't wait to listen to Rich Paul and Max Kellerman's podcast. So let's talk a little bit more. So the Brunson thing, certainly a situation he inherited. Once again, I always think about the fact that, like, if you're a good GM, you convince ownership to sign that contract. He didn't do it. That's at least partially his fault. Like, I do think that him being in the building and not convincing him to keep Brunson was a L. That's just an L on the GM. So, all right. No really consequential moves here other than signing. I don't know if you remember this. He did sign JaVale McGee to one of the worst contracts in the NBA.
Oh, wait, hold on. We've discovered this before. I saw Mohamedou Gay, but that's not different Mo Gay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Different Mo Gay, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. Who is now a superstar, apparently. The other Mo Gay, the good Mo Gay on the Atlanta Hawks is now single-handedly dueling against Luka. Maybe he thought it was that Mo Gay, and he saw the vision. He saw him outplaying Luka in a game in 2025.
The Brooks came back in a big way. One of the funniest thing.
I don't even know what that means, but
Brooks, you don't remember that when it was like way back in the day. The Grizzlies were trying to get a deal done.
Oh, Marshawn Brooks and Dylan Brooks.
Marshawn Brooks, and they thought they were getting Dylan Brooks, and it destroyed the trade.
Yes.
That was sorry. I should.
If we were GMs, we would have traded for the other Mo Gay.
Yes,
we would have been like, "Oh, I love Mo Gay."
Yeah, absolutely. I can have Mo Gay. I mean, it is kind of crazy that, like, in the NBA that there's two Mohamedou Gays. I have to say that's kind of crazy.
Well, I mean, Muhammad is.
Yeah, I guess Muhammad is
the most popular name.
Literally the most. Yeah. The biggest name in the world.
The last name though is definitely a coincidence. But all right. The JaVale McGee contract. Can you look up the details of the JaVale MGee contract? By the way,
I would love nothing more in my life,
because I remember this being a shock at the time. This is, by the way, this is 2022.
I mean, he was done. Like,
they
gave him they gave him, like, it wasn't like big money, but they gave him some money, which
I think it was like $7 million
out of the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get the number here. 3-year contract. So it was about $6 million a year.
Okay. So by the way, $6 million, which at the time was like the tax MLE.
Yeah.
A little bit more than
that's
that.
kind of what they got. I think that is what they gave him was like the
Yeah.
max MLE basically. So
So that was instantly bad. They were like he was like virtually unplayable on that contract. Not a good move. Do we know if JaVale McGee was ever connected to Nike at any point? He was connected to the Lakers.
Maybe. JaVale McGee, quietly one of the best. We talked about Tim Hardaway Jr. earlier in this episode. Another
Bag getter.
Hall of Fame bag getter.
Yeah, but JaVale McGee was part of like really good teams at least.
Was he? He was on the Wizards for like a lot, and the Nuggets.
He was on the Lakers and the Warriors.
Yeah, but that was like kind of like after the.
He was like a real rotation player on that Lakers bubble team.
That's the most fake fucking team of all time, dude. Rajon Rondo shot like 40% from 3 in that.
All right, here we go.
Anyway, all right. I don't want to get off on a tangent.
We would never do a tangent on this podcast.
No.
He was a real part of the Warriors championship team too. The one where now once again, have we joked about the easiest job in America being a center on the Warriors when they had KD, Steph, and Draymond? And yes, obviously, but like he played real minutes for both of those teams.
He succeeded where James Wiseman also succeeded. So
yeah, he got a bag on Denver, and then he got salary dumped to the process Sixers, and then later went back to Denver. He played for like 9 teams.
I get it. Like I remember JaVale McGee. I was kind of in on JaVale McGee way back in the day when he was on the Wizards. Like when
young athletic big.
Young athlete like JaVale McGee. Like I don't think it counts once you start bouncing around the league for like veteran minimums. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure. I'm not saying that JaVale McGee is like a great player or anything, but like he had moments in the NBA at least. Like he's not like a total, like honestly, Tim Hardaway Jr. was at least also had moments, but not quite to the level of importance that JaVale McGee had just because he was on really good teams.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, all right, signed, man, here are some names. McKinley Wright, Tyler Hall, DJ Stewart, Marcus Bingham, McKinley Wright again. Grant Riller, dude. Oh, Grant Riller had
look at the next one.
A piece of my heart, dude. Oh, Kemba
Walker.
So the Kemba Walker, that was Kemba's last stint. He signed like end of year contract with the Mavericks, right? Oh no, that was November 2022. He signed a real contract with them?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta find this out. I
thought this was
totally
like
I totally don't remember this.
I thought this was he was out of the NBA, and I thought this was he signed for like the end of the year. He had a 30-point game with the Mavericks at one point.
What?
I do vaguely remember that. I think it was late in the year when they were tanking for Derek Lively, if I remember correctly. Unless they waived Kemba by that point.
It was a 1-year non-guaranteed contract. So they were he was a minimum sign.
So he probably got waived at one point during this season.
Sure.
Got it. So we'll probably get to that. Although this was during their tanking season. Like, remember they tanked at the end of this year to get Derek Lively because they owed the Knicks a top 10 protected pick or top 12 protected pick, I should say. Like the Sixers tanked last year, but they didn't have to tank quite as hard but Luka got hurt, so they pulled the cord. They did, as we can see here, he signed Campazzo right before he was out of the NBA. They traded Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and a second-round pick, plus a 2029 first-round pick, a second-round pick for Kyrie and Markieff Morris. By the way, this is one of the best trades of the last few years until they trade Luka. Once again, it's just like every other move we talked about where all these moves are like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And then they trade away Luka, and it's like, well, why would you do that if you're trading away Luka? Because now your value of your future picks is exponentially more to the team that you traded the pick to. But having said that, Kyrie got traded for Kyrie Irving. And yes, this was with everything going on with the vaccine stuff, and he was an expiring contract, was probably going to leave that summer. The Nets had to get what they could get. But to get Kyrie Irving for Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and a first-round pick is a coup.
I didn't like this trade. This is when I started talking about the Luka Dončić
trade request speed run.
Trade request speed run, because I just didn't think Kyrie, like, we had seen Kyrie like work with LeBron, but like also everybody works with LeBron, and like I wasn't sure how Kyrie would like handle that with like a player who's like younger than him, and it just, we were coming off of, this was definitely the nadir of Kyrie's value, because like all the, as you talked about, like all the vaccine stuff, like everybody was talking about like how he was a coach killer and all this other stuff. And you are trading for him on an expiring. Like, so I do want to like double underline that, like that.
Yeah.
This was after this trade, the Boston media mafia could finally rest. The Boston
they did their job. They drove Kyrie's value into the ground. I mean, Kyrie certainly had a nice assist on that one, but between that and Sai just wanting, the team to be quote unquote normal, he didn't have a ton of value. And like, look, Kyrie gave them a finals run, a season and a half of being a fringe all NBA player, all-star level player, one of the best second options in the NBA, even though there were moments where he kind of disappeared and he struggled in the finals, and he had, he's older now. Like, he's just not the player he once was. But he also carried for them at times in the OKC series. Like, he was a huge part of that team. I mean, this isn't, breaking news or anything, but to get the second best player on a finals team for a fifth starter in Dorian Finney-Smith, who would go on to be traded for 5 second-round picks, a player in Spencer Dinwiddie who was salary dumped and bought out of this contract, and a first-round pick that now will have value, but at the time didn't look like it would have a ton of value. This is the best move he ever made.
Yeah, that or PJ Washington probably, but like this one, especially because he re-signed Kyrie. That's like the thing I want to like hammer home is like he did re-sign Kyrie, and then Kyrie was like pretty good on that thing, which was not a given.
I will say, people brought this up. We just talked about it a little bit earlier with the Brunson thing. Similar to the PJ Washington trade, which we'll get to in about a year from now. The thing with this, like, they're doing the Kyrie trade because they lost Brunson, right? And then they sign Grant Williams this upcoming offseason, and then they have to immediately get off the Grant Williams contract.
Yes.
Because he's just annoying and not playing well. And so once again, even his best moves are making up for past fuck ups, is what I'm trying to get.
I will say yes. But we do hold on, but we do have to be consistent here, though, because we do say that one of the biggest strengths a GM can have is to recognize their own fuck ups and pivot out of them quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
but at the same time, the amount of value that he gave up to make up for those fuck ups, especially now,
yes,
after you did another massive fuck up,
yeah, it's not good.
That's why he is Cocaine Nico.
Yeah.
So, all right. We have an update here. Nick Nurse says Paul George has been looked at again and has doctors here tonight. We'll be expecting an update shortly.
Why are they doing that at fucking the X, dude? Shouldn't they be doing that? Like,
first off, no one knows if Paul George is alive. No one has seen Paul George. I'm just assuming that the player that has been on video sitting on the Sixers bench is some sort of AI creation. I don't think he's real. I think much like a few years ago when there was the clone of Melania going around.
Yeah.
Very possible that Paul George is in the same. That's a body double. That is not a real. That's not a guy.
The Sixers called one of the TikTok dancers that like people post to slander a guy, like Paul George tonight, like, and they just called that guy and said, "Hey, we need you in the fucking building."
The
like,
Jamal Murray variant
exactly.
guy.
Like we have Dominican Tatum is our TikTok dancing guy. Like he's the one who would get the call, like if Tatum needed to be in there. So
every once in a while, Paul George and Jared McCain start locking eyes and they want to start doing a TikTok dance on the sidelines, but he has to resist the urge because he knows that real Paul George would never do that because he's too old to do it. So he has to just like contain himself. Like, I don't want to do a floss dance right now.
I have to say, like, there's been a lot of really good NBA moments. I don't think there's ever been one that has more captured the zeitgeist of a particular player than Paul George getting stuck in the Eagles parade in his car. Like,
not knowing that it was happening, and also awesome, being like virtually unfazed by the fact that people are blocking his car. Like, that is the perfect summary of Paul George's tenure with the Sixers.
Yeah,
like, there really has never been anything that captures something quite like that. It was fascinating to see. All right, Spencer Dinwiddie, we went through that. Signed Justin Holiday. So drafted Cason Wallace. This was the Derek Lively trade where he got off. This is
a pretty good bit of. I really like this in the
got off the Davis Bertans contract to the Thunder and had them move up 2 spots to get Cason Wallace. He moved back 2 spots and got Derek Lively, who, look, Lively's had a lot of injuries, but certainly one of the better players from that draft when he's healthy. And got him with the 12th pick, got off some money in the process. He had a few months of just like normal good trades.
Was Derek, which one was the, okay, Omax was the Rashawn Holmes. The pick.
Yeah, so they traded cash to the Sacramento Kings for Rashawn Holmes and the pick that became Omax on draft night.
Okay.
Which didn't work out, but this is a kind of,
I think that was a good move, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Like, Omax stinks, but like that was like really good value to like get a first round pick just for like taking on like a year of Rashawn Holmes.
Right. And to see if he had anything left in the tank, because Davis Bertans clearly did not at that point. Yeah. It didn't work out with Rashawn Holmes, but like whatever. It's a completely fine flyer. I think Rashawn Holmes he had 2 years left on his deal, but the last year wasn't guaranteed on the deal. So it was really a 1-year deal. And you got Derek Lively, who's the best player here when healthy. And I remember at the time being like, they should just take Cason, but they had just traded for Kyrie. I actually do think there is a world where you could start Cason, Kyrie, and Luka, but Cason's been good in the NBA, and he's certainly been more available than Lively. But when both of them are available, Lively is the better player, and also was a perfect fit with Luka and Kyrie.
Right? Yeah.
Which, goddamn. Okay, signed Kyrie to a multi-year deal, which actually ended up being really good. It was like if I remember correctly, it was like a 3-year, $40 million per year deal, which turned out to be good value, fine value for Kyrie. This was a massive trade. Okay, this was the Grant Williams sign-in trade. So they traded Reggie Bullock and a 2030 first-round pick to the Spurs. So that was a swap, an unprotected swap to get off of in 2030.
I forgot about this one.
To get off the Reggie Bullock contract, which had 1 year left on it, to bring in Grant Williams from the Celtics. And then, man, this was tough, dude. This was just like, that was basically the crux of this trade for the Mavericks. And once again, they salary dumped him by the end of the year.
I had totally memory hold this one. This is pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, this is kind of demonic.
Yeah, like this is trading the 2030 first round swap for, just to sign Grant Williams. That's tough, man. That's really fucking tough.
So once again, remember you said, the PJ Washington trade is good. Well, we'll get to what they gave up for PJ Washington, but you also have to include that 2030 swap because they had to get off Grant Williams' contract, which they had just given up an unprotected. But once again, we give a lot of shit to the Spurs front office. The one thing that I do think they're good at is these swap trades, where they get in there and they're like, "Oh, just throw in a swap. Don't worry about it. Just throw in a swap."
Here's what I'll say though about this though. I guess at this point they did know that they were going to be able to draft Wemby, right? Because this is 2023. So some of the other ones
they had already drafted Wemby.
Had they drafted? Okay, yeah, they had drafted Wemby. They had after. So like this one fine, but some of the other swaps, like they were this front office is. I'm still not convinced this front office is good. That they just didn't just get lucky to jump up in the like most important drafts.
I don't disagree. What I'm saying that they do one thing well, which is they get good swaps. Yeah. Now at the time, as Will points out in the comments, doesn't matter. They have Luka Dončić. Who cares? Well, it turned out to be a really good long-term bet.
Well, because I remember like hating all of this. I remember hating all these moves. This is when I was in the middle of doing my like Luka Dončić trade request speed run. Like this is a disaster. Like this is.
You love Grant though. That was your guy.
I did love Grant.
We might be able to check the film on that one. I feel like you probably were positive on them getting Grant.
I distinctly remember saying that's a lot of money to pay Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Like. So I do
remember you specifically bringing up how many threes he hit in that game 7 over and over again during this time period.
I did. I do think, like if he was less annoying, I do think Luka could have made it work. I really think that that him getting traded was more about personality than it was. If there's anything we know about Nico Harrison, like he doesn't care about basketball. He only cares about who's got vibes. Yeah.
He just follows the vibes wherever they lead him.
Yeah.
And as Elemental points out here, Bullock was traded for being so leftist, which is why Dallas had to get him out.
That's a good point.
They were in the process of handing the organization over to the Adelsons and said, absolutely not. We will not have someone who has a good, pure, kind soul like Reggie Bullock.
They had him. The Nico Harrison pulled him into the room like an Oppenheimer. They were doing the. Have you ever known a democratic socialist? Democrat.
Yeah. So, all right, they signed Dante Exum, which actually was a good veterans minimum deal.
Yeah, he was pretty good for them. Is he still on the team? He's hurt, right? Like,
yeah, he's still on the team, but he's hurt. He got hurt last year. His whole career has just been like, he has nice little moments and then he gets hurt. Like that's unfortunately completely derailed his entire career. But signed Mikey Miles, signed Seth Curry, signed Omax, Jordan Walker. Here's another really good veterans minimum deal.
They signed Mikey Miles?
Mike Miles. Did I say Mikey?
Yeah, I was like,
I think his name is Mikey Miles.
No, Mikey Miles is somewhat different.
Okay, never mind. I apologize.
I thought I was hearing things.
I don't know who Mikey Miles is.
I don't know if this
is he. Wait, hold on. Is he like an episode 1 character?
He's like a Chapo character.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like
that's probably why I said it. It was probably in my subconscious as I read that.
Yeah, he's the just a kid from New York guy.
Okay. Yeah. I vaguely remember this. Okay.
Yeah. He's an up-and-coming actor.
Yeah, they signed Mikey Miles.
They signed Mikey Miles.
Seth Curry, when he was washed, they brought him back. And then another great veterans minimum signing from this offseason, Derek Jones Jr., who, by the way, I wanted the Sixers to sign this offseason because he was a vet min. One of the low-key bag fumbles and no one ever talks about is that, he opted out of a $10 million contract with the Bulls to do this.
No, that's tough.
So he was making like $9 or $10 million with the Bulls and then opted out because his agent told him that, I'm assuming his agent told him that he could get a bigger bag. So that's what I heard. And then he opted out and all the money dried up. And then he got forced to later sign a 1-year veterans minimum deal with the Mavericks. Now, the good news is he played well enough to get an MLE deal a year later with the Clippers. But the bad news is that he already had that money and opted out. Who knows? Maybe he would have never gotten that deal with the Clippers if he didn't go play with Luka on the veterans minimum.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I think he had a little bit of a career revitalization in the first place. So, okay. Signed a bunch of nothings. Brandon Williams to a 2-way contract. He's actually an NBA player, so that's a nice little snag there. Undrafted, if I remember correctly, 2-way guy. Traded Seth Curry, Grant Williams, and a first-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets. By the way, that first-round pick, we trashed it at the time. Do you remember?
Yeah,
because we were like a top 2 protected first-round pick. Like 2 picks is it? Like. You couldn't throw a top 5 protection for PJ Washington in this. And as the time went on, we were like, look, you got to do what you got to do. They make it to the finals. Like, maybe the trade wasn't that bad after all.
And you know, you're kind of capped. I remember saying, like, what if Luka gets hurt? like is the thing I kept saying. Like,
what if Luka isn't on the roster?
Yeah, what if Luka is not playing in these games in 20?
He's not the most, best bill of health. And Nico said, I agree. Let's ship his ass out.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, this was a terrible trade now, but was fine a few months after this. But only for a few months after this. Traded Rashawn Holmes and a first round pick to the Washington Wizards for Daniel Gafford. That was also that also led to a pick swap, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 2028 pick swap, unprotected, with the OKC got in this trade, by the way. Sam.
How?
So if I remember correctly,
for an Oklahoma City 2024 first to then buy.
Okay, so this is very confusing.
Gafford. Okay.
If I remember correctly, someone sent a first round pick to the Washington Wizards.
Okay. So
I think it was OKC.
Thunder. Yeah, probably the Thunder.
And funny enough, they ended up trading back for that pick, and they took Dylan Jones. And then, by the way, they salary dumped Dylan Jones to the Wizards a year after he got drafted. So very confusing set of moves here. OKC sent their 2024 first. They got a pick swap because keep in mind, OKC can't use all their picks.
No.
They have too many picks. So they said, let's take a flyer on a pick swap in this trade. Dallas got Gafford. And then later they traded that pick back for Dylan Jones. And I think it was for like 5 seconds. And OKC was on top of the West at this point.
That's tough, man. That's a pretty bad. I'm a little annoyed at myself for forgetting this because I do remember like smashing my head like in the moment and being like, this is a lot of like future leverage that you're like sending out the door. Like, and then they made the finals and I had to be like, and I am kind of like, like, look, if you can make the finals, it is kind of,
look, these trades, once again, as we've discussed many a times, these trades at the time were a little bit pricey, instantly paid off, and then became the worst fucking trades ever a year later.
Well, because of the Luka trade,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Like, this is not the Suns doing the swaps on swaps to like fucking bring in Bradley Beal. That was like never going to be a needle mover. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did have Luka Dončić in there, like. There was a proof of concept there. You ran into the Celtics buzzsaw that year. This could have been a good team for a while if it weren't for one night in fucking January last year. What was that day?
February. It was the first. It was February 2nd. I think Groundhog's Day.
A day which will live in infamy. We're
and now it feels
away
like
from Pearl Harbor and giving that to the Luka trade.
I mean, honestly, what had more impact? Let's be real here. I was going to say, waking up the next, day, every day, it will be February 2nd forever for Mavericks fans. It will, just like the movie Groundhog's Day. So yeah, let's God damn.
Oh my God.
Alex Fudge, baby, 2-way contract.
Is this all swaps?
Dude, this trade.
What is a 6-team trade? I don't
Dallas.
remember.
This was one of those trades where it was just all draft picks.
Oh my God, dude.
So the reason why this was like the Buddy Hield sign-in trade, they looped in a bunch of fake trades. The long and short of this, if I remember correctly, for the Mavericks, was they got off the Josh Green deal and got Klay Thompson in this trade. But they only sent out second-round picks to do it.
Still pretty bad. It's still pretty bad.
Did we ever get to the Josh? Did we pass over the Josh Green contract extension? Because that was a terrible contract extension, by the way. We must have. That was a terrible. I mean, at the time I understood it, to be clear. Like I was like, once again, when you have these guys in-house, you got to get a scam contract at some point. And I thought that Josh Green could have developed his game and become a pretty good player, but I must have missed that or it wasn't listed here.
Yeah, it might not be listed. I'll find out what.
But they had just extended him
October of 23.
Yeah, it was before this.
3-year, $41 million deal.
Wait, there's no way. He signed that deal with the Mavericks. It was it must have been 2022.
No, it was October of 2023.
He got traded. Am I having a
I think he got traded the next year, right? Like
this says Josh Green was traded in this trade, right? Or do I have it wrong?
I thought it was.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, this was 2024.
Yeah.
So I skipped right over it probably, but or they just didn't include it because it was a rookie extension.
Yeah.
But the yeah, I just had a Joe Brandon moment.
Look, man,
I've had a hard week, guys. Come on, let me have this. The more I think about first off, the Josh Green extension, he got like $13 million a year. Horrible deal. Josh Green is not an NBA player. Like, he's just not. Maybe he'll have like a revitalization and be like a fringe guy at some point. But like I once again when they signed this, I was like, this is fine. But he is just not that guy. And they traded him in this trade for Klay Thompson, which once again, I know Klay's washed, but like you got off the contract and you sent out second round picks. Can I really get that mad at it? They also got Quentin Grimes in a separate trade, and Quentin Grimes is way better than Josh Green.
So that's what that was because that was the other one everyone brought up, and I want to talk about because the Grimes thing again.
Read the details.
Yeah. So what was it? It was
right
Tim Hardaway. Okay.
And 3 second round picks, I think, for Quentin Grimes with 1 year left on his deal.
Okay.
They actually got second round. They got a second round pick too. So basically, they netted. It was 2 second round picks for a year of Quentin Grimes, basically.
Yeah, and then they like flipped Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin, which was obviously bad, but
horrible.
Yeah, but like I was hoping that it was less bad than this because it's like, is it still bad to trade Tim Hardaway in 2 seconds for Caleb Martin? Like.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still bad.
It's bad because you already knew that Caleb Martin was, by the way, when he signed that deal, I was like, cool. Sixers got a 2-way wing on a $7 million a year deal for 4 years locked up, but he was instantly horrible on the Sixers.
Yeah.
And like we've seen time and time again, if a player leaves the Miami Heat and they play badly, don't acquire them. Like, don't try to go out of your way and trade for him. Now, it's not to say that anyone has handled Quentin Grimes' situation particularly well. The Sixers, the Pistons,
this poor guy,
the Mavericks, the Knicks. He's a pretty good player. He just happens to have maybe expectations for himself that are a little bit higher than what the league views him as. And he's bounced around. And like, ultimately, this is not a trade that you lose sleep over when you, especially with the original trade, looked like a scam for the Mavericks. Because people always remember the Sixers run that Grimes had in March. Grimes also had a crazy run with the Mavericks in December, where he looked really good. And that was before the Sixers traded for him.
He should like get in touch with like either Kevin Smith or Mike Judge about doing like a workplace like comedy about like how bad his bosses were. A guy is on an unreal bad boss run right now.
Yeah, he's had no teams that will value what he does.
Yeah.
And he's on the qualifying offer with the Sixers now. Now look, maybe he signs with another team in free agency and gets it back next offseason. But for now, it feels like he kind of got the shit. Once again, if Quentin Grimes were 5 years older, he would have gotten a $25 million contract a few years ago. Remember when we talked about the Tim Hardaway Jr. thing in 2021, where he got that extension just earlier, where he got like the $17 million. Quentin Grimes would have got a contract like that.
Yeah. Like straight up, like he's like had like bag fumbles, but like through no fault of his own. Well,
it's also one of those things where it's like, if you keep moving around, once again, teams tend to pay their guys. But if you always view yourself as better than what teams in the league think you are, you're never going to have a rep with an organization to get paid, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Like, you're not like Quentin Grimes is a solid player. He's not extraordinary. He's not someone that like you can't find. And that is the real thing when it comes to this stuff, is like, if you ask your agent to trade you every time you're not getting paid, eventually it's just going to run out of spots. Like, look at the teams that have cap space next summer. Other than like the Wizards, it's like the Pistons, the Jazz. Like, there are teams that could have acquired him or paid him in the past. The Pistons have already had him.
It's like he like seriously should like look into like kind of selling the rights to like his like, doesn't this just seem like a workplace fucking comedy? Like, or even if those guys don't want it, do it on NBC. Like, kind of have like
a Peacock show, like
yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie could be like his guy, Dwight. Like,
I was gonna say,
cryptocurrency is very good right now, and you should buy it.
If you, I don't know if you've realized, but Steph Curry has a comedy on Peacock called Mr. Throwback. Are you aware of this?
I was not aware about that. I don't watch any TV anymore.
Well, first off, I think that this would be like injecting poison into your eyes if you watched it, from what I've heard. Just not heard great things.
Holy moly, not make it?
Well, first off, Holy Moly is a very important show to me personally. One of the greatest jokes in YKB history.
Yeah, I was gonna say Barb killed me with that, when knocking that one out.
An executive producer on Holy Moly. But the reason I bring this up is Peacock would definitely create some sort of Mr. Bounce Around or something.
Yeah,
like you get it, like pun, like bounce, like a basketball.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Bounce around the league, and then it's
yes,
Mike Judge and Quentin Grimes. He's from Texas.
Yeah,
there's a connection there. We can make something happen. But yeah. So by the way, another one of his rare good moves here this offseason.
Yeah,
signed Najee Marshall to a scam contract, which I wanted the Sixers to sign one of Najee Marshall or Caleb Martin. They got Najee Marshall. Then they traded for Caleb Martin later, one of the worst deals in the NBA and one of the best deals in the NBA. Signed Brandon Williams, signed Spencer Dinwiddie, wash Spencer Dinwiddie. Okay, here it is, folks. Here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. This entire podcast leading up to this moment. As part of a 3-team trade, the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Dončić, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers traded Max Christie, which is why they had to trade Quentin Grimes, by the way, because they got Max Christie in this trade. Anthony Davis and a first-round pick to the Dallas Mavericks. The Lakers traded Jalen Hood-Schifino and a second-round pick to the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz traded Cash and a second-round pick to the Dallas Mavericks. And the Jazz traded Cash to the Lakers.
Who was that 2025 first-round pick? Who did they draft?
John Tonje. How do you say his name?
Okay.
He played for Wisconsin. He was like
Wow.
old. I think they have him on a 2-way. Tonji. There you go. Yeah. I honestly can't. I don't remember much about him. I just know he played for Wisconsin, and I think he's on a That's what you take from the Luka Dončić trade, is who is that guy?
Yeah.
Are they going to call it the John Tonji?
John Tonje. He could still salvage this if Tonje really hits his
How
stride.
Good does he have to be in order to be known as a throw-in? I think he's like 24 already, too, if I remember correctly.
I mean, we've beaten this to death at this time. Everybody's talked about it.
Everyone's talked about it.
This is
the worst trade in the history of sports.
I've told this on the pod before. I cannot stress enough that my initial reaction, and given that I was a little bit under the influence when this was going on, because this happened at midnight, but my initial reaction was to click through the Shams profile to see which Shams, like it was. Saw that it was the real Shams. Well, first of all, Googled, because I couldn't remember. Like, I cut and paste the username because I was like, oh, is there like a, sometimes people have L's as eyes or something like that. And I was like, and I cut it in and it popped right up as his thing. And I was like, oh, that's very funny. Shams got hacked.
It was everyone's instant reaction because it is unfathomable. And it's still unfathomable that they could do this. Like, Now, we'll get the full story eventually, like I said earlier, but it comes down to, was Nico Harrison blackmailed? Was this really Nico Harrison's idea? Or was there other things at play here? And we'll find out in time. I have a hard time believing that any person in their sane mind could do this, but we just went through this man's transaction history, and he is kind of a loose cannon. We talked about this before. We talked about this before he traded for Anthony Davis, trading away Luka Dončić for Anthony Davis, and not even getting Austin Reeves in the trade.
This is, I mean, there's so much going on.
There was no way you could have ever made up for it, but if you got Austin Reeves, and then you still got lottery luck and you got Cooper Flagg, and you had Cooper Flagg and Austin Reeves, you would feel a lot better about this.
This is an institutional failure from top to bottom, though, because if your general manager does this, there has to be someone else in the building who's like, no, we need to have a meeting about why this is necessary. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this would never...
You should fire that person the second they bring this idea up.
Yeah, it's crazy that is like going on. The fact, like, we've talked about it a million times, but like the fact that it wasn't a bidding war is crazy. Like the fact that you just took dying Anthony Davis as your like first offer, like it really is like kind of crazy how...
Think about all the young players that have made leaps over the last year or two that you could have gotten for Luka Dončić. Like, now look, obviously at this point last year, the Sixers weren't trading for him, but like you could have gotten Maxey and picks if you did this a little bit earlier.
Gotten Halliburton and picks probably. Well, actually, Carlisle was probably...
Yeah, no, I don't think that
probably wouldn't do that. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you could have got like name a player. You know what I'm
I think
saying?
you probably could have got Donovan Mitchell, or at least it would have been a conversation. Like there are so many good players that you could have gotten. Just run it.
Amen and Şengün. Yeah.
Franz and a bunch of picks. Like there were so many guys out there that you could have taken that approach with, which by the way, I don't know if you saw the reports coming out, but like there isn't like an official report yet. I'm sure we'll get a Shams article at some point about this, but there is this idea that they're going to do what I think is the correct thing and not try to salvage this thing with these older guys and these younger guys. And just trade Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving as soon as possible. And then maybe some of the other vets on the team. The problem is that Kyrie Irving is out with an ACL injury right now. Yeah. And Anthony Davis has had one good game as a Dallas Maverick.
It's crazy, dude.
And it's, once again, we keep joking that it's this because they obviously immediately got rewarded with Cooper Flagg, right? Who, I know he had a slow start. He's going to be a very, very good NBA player. I disagree with you, and I can't remember who we had on that said that they would consider taking him over Luka. I think that's absurd. But I think that he will very clearly be one of the 10 or 15 best players in the NBA at some point. And the long and short of this is that this trade is just so insane. They now have to pivot to this Cooper Flagg window, right?
Yes.
But all of the players are at the bottom point of their value.
Yeah.
And they have to revamp it at some point here this season, or like who could they trade for and get a good player?
Well, here's what I don't think they have to do anything. They're bad. They don't need to trade.
No, that's true.
Guys.
They could wait until after the season, but they need Kyrie to show something. They can't trade Kyrie without playing for a year for nothing.
Yeah, no, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you have to do anything. They're 3-8, I believe. I think they're the 5th worst record in the NBA.
They're certainly, by the way, the pressure on this draft for them, because we just talked about how many picks they don't have, right?
Yeah.
They don't have 27. They don't have 28. They don't have 29. They don't have 30. In order to make the Cooper Flagg thing work, they kind of need to hit. And look, Flagg is a great prospect. I don't think he's a 1A. He can't be your moon, sun, earth. I think he's ultimately an Anthony Davis style player where he's going to be part of really great teams and he'll probably be a defensive 1 with an offensive 2. That's my guess for Cooper Flagg long term. And if that is the case, you need to get like a Darren Peterson or someone like that in order to really salvage this thing. Now, you could get a good player and be a competitive good team with him and Lively if he gets healthy and all that, but you're working from such a deficit at this point that like, is there any team that could trade for Anthony Davis right now and give you back positive value?
No, because why would they? That GM should be fired if they do that. He's played 14 of his 34 games since he got to Dallas, or 37, whatever it is. Like it's like insane. Yeah, I mean, yeah, AD for Ja, like,
oh my god,
you know,
it's going to be all depression challenge trades.
Like, yeah, like it's all those nasty challenge trades we've all like talked about like a billion times before. I don't think they have to do anything. This sucks. I know Cooper Flag and the fans are like pissed. I think suck it up. I don't think you do anything until one of these guys starts playing better or somebody drops an insane offer in your lap.
By the way, McMahon said the Dallas Mavericks are expected to gauge the trade market for Anthony Davis. So that is.
I don't even know who would give anything up of value. I can't think of a single.
Everyone has said the Kings.
But what they don't have anything of value. What, you Keegan Murray?
Zach LaVine and a pick?
There's nothing of value for them to give up. Like, that's the thing that, like, I mean, like, it sucks that, like, you know, it's kind of like the guy who's the peasant whose fucking thing keeps getting crushed by the dragon wandering through. It's like, well, okay, well, if the dragon wanders through again, my house has already been crushed, so I don't care. Like, there's limited damage that the Kings can do. Like,
by the way, we have everyone in chat is saying that there are many teams, Chicago, Miami. I don't think Miami would. He said Hero Ware in a first, but he doesn't want to pay Tyler Hero. I actually think that might be too much for this version of Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis kind of stinks now, guys. Like, you got to kind of adjust for that.
I mean, if there's one team that could revamp his career, I feel pretty confident that Miami
is there anyone who fits with him less than fucking Bam Adebayo?
No, I mean, that would be a horrible fit. But I don't know. It depends. It also depends. Like, do you buy Bam shooting? Because their defense would be pretty fucking good if he could ever get healthy. But he might just be at a different stage of his career, dude. Like, Anthony Davis was kind of falling off defensively on the Lakers. That's what people never talk about, is that the whole defense wins championship argument, which was always flat on its face ridiculous, that Nico made after this trade, was absurd because Anthony Davis was not the same defender he was. And then he instantly fell off when he got to the Mavericks. Like, he was better on offense than he was on defense when he got traded to the Mavericks. And he's always been a very good offensive player, but a flawed one.
Okay. So you know how Damian Lillard recently went back to kind of mentor some of these young Portland guards. Anthony Davis, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. He's going to show Derek Queen how to be a franchise star.
Zion and Flag on the Mavericks, the Duke Mavericks.
God, that's a horrible fit. Those guys like also can't really play together. There's like, I literally looked at it. I don't think there's a single Anthony Davis trade. Like, normally I can find like one.
You know what's really funny?
A single Anthony Davis trade that makes sense.
I had a trade years ago when we had Harrison on. I want to say this was like 2023. Maybe it was early 2023, where I suggested a trade that made you want to throw up. And I literally think someone just sent it, and I don't think this team would do it now, which was Nikola Vucevic, Ayo Dosunmu, and a first-round pick for Anthony Davis. It might have even been Kobe White. And you were like, this is disrespectful to Anthony Davis, which, to be clear, it was.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis turned out to be pretty decent after that. They made the conference finals run that year, if I remember correctly. That was the year they traded for like Rui at the deadline and stuff and made a conference finals run. Having said that, now that's a trade that like Chicago wouldn't do.
Yeah, I don't think Chicago would or should do that.
But this is always
just better than Anthony Davis right now, which is insane to say. But like,
this is always the case for every player that's in this mold: Embiid, Zion, Anthony Davis, LaMelo, Ja, guys who aren't available. And look, they're all varying levels of good. Zion, when they are good, you're never going to trade them.
No names were left out of that.
Who did I say?
You said Zion, Ja, LaMelo, Anthony Davis. You're talking
Embiid.
about superstar. Yeah, yes.
I said it. Embiid was the first person I said.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't hear Embiid, but
I can guarantee you, chat can vouch for me that Embiid was the first person I said.
Okay.
The problem is that when these players are available, they're too good to trade. I don't know if Ja's in that class anymore, to be clear, because he's kind of sucked for like a year now. But all these players too good to trade, and then they'll never match the value. And most teams are not Nico Harrison. They are afraid to lose a trade. They are not bold enough to fucking put their reputation on the line when they're trading away a star or a superstar player. And Anthony Davis at this point, every player that's been mentioned, except for maybe like some of the Kings guys, like Sabonis. Would you do Anthony Davis for Sabonis? Like Sabonis is better. Also, if you're the Mavericks, does Sabonis help you like be a little bit more competitive than you want to be right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Plays games.
You
could lose games with Sabonis on your team, though, to be clear.
You could, but not enough.
This is a depressing trade that Jonathan just sent in.
Oh my God.
Anthony Davis for Paul George. I mean, look, if Paul George is dead, it's possible we could have the first dead NBA player ever traded.
God. How many years are left on Paul George's? This is
3.
3.
I think they both have 3 years left on their deals. And Anthony Davis makes more money than Paul George. That's why the Sixers wouldn't do it. The Sixers wouldn't do it because of the fact that you have this new backcourt, and also the fact that Anthony Davis, say what you will about Paul George, is probably less available than Paul George at this point, even though Paul George hasn't played a game this year. And he makes more money, so they'd be into the tax. They'd be further in the tax, and they just wouldn't do that.
Is there a Pacers trade, you think? They don't really have the money. I don't think they can cobble together the money. They're like the only team I can kind of see.
I don't think the Pacers would do that.
Well, it depends on what it is. I think
there's no matching money there. No,
yeah, there's no money. Yeah,
he makes like $50 million a year, over $50 million a year. That's why it has to be a challenge trade.
The Suns. Oh man, Jalen Green going to.
I'm telling you, I actually have come to this conclusion after watching the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
I think these teams that chase stars for years, the Bucks, the Suns, the Sixers, I think they're done. Like, I don't think they want to do it anymore, because I think that all it's done is kind of hurt them. Like the Dame trade hurt the Bucks, the Paul George signing hurt the Sixers. They're still decent enough teams because of their talent, but like the Suns got destroyed by the Bradley Beal move. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think anyone's trading for Anthony Davis on this contract unless they're sending out a contract they don't want. I had a really demonic thought the other day that I think you might have saw in my group DM, which actually was trading Paul George, but not for a big, but not for Anthony Davis. And it was Paul George for Sabonis, because they're trying to trade Sabonis. And here's why. First off, it pretty much gets the Sixers out of the tax.
No way.
Swear to God. Really? Paul George makes like $7 million more than Sabonis. 2, this was before I knew about Embiid's status, but I was like, well, Sabonis is a dribble handoff merchant, but we have a lot of guys that run dribble handoffs. Maxey, McCain, Grimes, VJ. Okay. And is there not any player more Sacramento Kings than Paul George? Like washed old Paul George?
No, I mean, that is extremely like putting him together with DeMar seems like spiritually like kind of like a yin and yang. Like I
think they're just going to buy out DeMar.
God damn.
I mean, is anyone trading for DeMar DeRozan at the deadline? Because they were like, they're going to gauge the value of LaVine, Sabonis, and DeMar. And I was like, you might be able to find a Sabonis trade. You cannot find a LaVine or DeMar trade.
This whole time I've been like, oh man, this really does suck for the Mavericks. Like even with Cooper Flag, man, they're still in like a really rough situation. I feel bad for their fans. And then you bring up the Sacramento Kings, and it's like of my fucking like it's like a portal to hell being opened under my feet, dude. Like it is mind-boggling how much of a disaster that franchise is. Like,
Also,
it's insane.
I don't know if you're aware of what's happening with them right now. Two things. One, I just told you they're trying to go into a rebuild, which is hilarious considering all of their moves from the last 2 years.
Mhm.
All of their moves from the last 2 years have been like, we're winning right now. DeMar, Levine, they're not good moves, but they're all like, this is a team that's ready to win, right? Now they're saying they're going to go into a rebuild, and they're not playing Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis doesn't play. He's not in their rotation. For the second year in a row, one of their best role players just doesn't get minutes. And a player that has a skill set that they need. Point of attack defense, steals and blocks, 3-point shooting, athletic young guard, doesn't play. If you're a rebuilding team, why are you doing that?
Keon Ellis is a political prisoner.
He basically is being held hostage by a king.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I was gonna say,
you have to live in Sacramento for the rest of your time, but you will never be able to work your job that you love.
I literally can't think about the Kings too long because it like really does kind of like fucking bum me out. Yeah.
I do think there's an argument that, by the way, if I trusted the Kings to make the right decision, I do think there's an argument that you trade Keon Ellis because he's already 25 or 26. And by the time the Kings if they're ever good again in the future, he's probably not on that team. Like he could help how many teams in the NBA would Keon Ellis make like slightly better right now? A ton.
Is there one that it wouldn't? Yeah, is there one where he wouldn't help?
The Sacramento Kings, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
According to them, like he would do wonders for Houston or any of these teams. The Lakers, name a fucking team. The Warriors, and they're just like, nah, we don't like him. Literally name a team. Unbelievable. God, it's just such a mishandling. And by the way, the funniest part about that is that he fell out of the rotation for Russell Westbrook, who's been the Kings' best player this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Russ has been cooking.
He's been killing. He's been absolutely killing.
There is something like kind of beautiful. It's like when a widow and a widower like find love in a retirement home, like at the end of their life in like the winter years. The Kings and Russell Westbrook kind of
they're blowing it up to build around Russ
joy.
at 37 years old.
Yeah.
They're like we finally found our superstar point guard. We've been searching for a superstar point guard for so long, and we finally found one in 37-year-old Russell Westbrook. Anyway, I hope you like San Antonio, De'Aaron Fox, and I hope that you like Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton.
Oh, God damn, dude.
It's, by the way, this is, once again, what is more fun than discovering a player on the fringes of the NBA, like Keon Ellis, for a fan base?
Yeah.
Oh, we got this guy with a second-round pick.
I'm loving Minot Mania right now. Like it's literally the best feeling in the world.
Trendon Watford has changed my life.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's the best part of the NBA. Honest, I genuinely mean that. Like guys like just being good out of nowhere. Like
crazy.
Yeah.
So by the way, I just a little thing on the Quentin Grimes trade, which we have not talked about in detail. Quentin Grimes traded for originally the Mavericks second round pick.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It was the Sixers second round pick that they got back.
Mm-hmm.
And then they selected Broom with that pick.
Mm-hmm.
But they ended up getting a second round pick from the Sixers because Caleb Martin's physical came back bad. So the Sixers sold them a super lemon for, even if it's 2 years of a year and a half of Quentin Grimes and Broom, this is just a stupid trade for the Mavericks all around. Here's a run. Trades Luka, trades Grimes, signs Moses Brown, signs Kai Jones, selects Cooper Flagg. You really deserve that, buddy. You earned this right here.
God damn.
Oh man.
He just signed Kyrie again. I forgot about that. He extended Kyrie this offseason?
Yeah, they signed him to like a smaller extension, if I remember correctly.
Wait, Mannix is reporting that Kidd could transition to a front office role.
Yeah,
awesome.
Right. Chris Mannix report.
I mean, yes, also correct.
I saw that earlier, but they didn't say it was Chris Mannix, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of a bozo decision move that a bozo team would do. But then I saw Chris Mannix reported it, and I was like, oh, I think it's. When was the last time Chris Mannix reported anything that happened? I wish we had a tracker. If you're like into spreadsheets, which I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you fucking love spreadsheets. Please, can we have a slop tracker for everyone who reports anything? And if it happens, the Mannix monitor.
We should have, that would be amazing to have.
So we can verify our slop. Because I swear to God, nothing Chris Mannix has ever said has come true.
It's got to be great. Yeah, I was gonna say his reporting. Yeah, we do need. That's a good project for someone who doesn't mind getting yelled at.
Yeah, I was gonna say the slop ticker. There you go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
At one point, Ian Begley was really bad at this, but he's actually rebounded and had a few good reports in the last few years. He's more plugged into the Knicks now than he used to be, so he gets some scoops. He got like Alex Burks going back there. He was the first on the Karl Anthony Towns trade. I have to give Ian Begley credit that he's turned things around, but 2 years ago it was pretty brutal. It was like anything Begley said, it did not come true. But sometimes you got to go find the right situation to turn your career around, and he's done it. It's a great context for him. So sign Kyrie to an extension. It was a short-term extension. So actually, we didn't talk about this because once again, this is we're doing a funeral. The death has already been had here. Everything that happens after the Luka trade, completely nonsensical, irrelevant. Do you think that Kyrie has any trade value, even though he tore his ACL and he's old?
I think he would. If he looks normal, it's all going to depend on how he looks.
If he came back in January, and looks like Kyrie Irving,
I think somebody would
until the offseason probably to trade him with a year left. I think.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think the prices are going to be right. I think all of this probably happens next offseason, to be totally honest.
Yeah,
I think has an Anthony Davis. I think what they're going to try to do is try to see if they can get a sucker for Anthony Davis. If somebody, I don't know who the idiot is, but it only takes one. Sure. If there's some moron that comes out of the woodwork to try to like trade for Anthony Davis, they'll pounce on that. But like, I think Kyrie definitely happens in the offseason. So
yeah, I'm actually trying to think of teams that could trade for Kyrie. Like if Kyrie were healthy, Houston could entertain it.
Oh yeah.
But they don't have the contracts to match. And Fred VanVleet can't be traded until next offseason anyway, if you wanted to do that. And also, like, do you really want to get KD and Kyrie? Your whole thing is like energy and like rebounding and like we've already seen the KD Kyrie thing. Like it wasn't necessarily their fault. Well, it was partially. I mean, a lot of injury stuff. And that was so long ago at this point. Like I do think that do you think
Portland would do it?
What's the trade? They don't have contracts.
Jeremy Grant and picks.
Oh, they have Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting.
Yeah. Like that's like
Kyrie is not the guy. Like Kyrie can fit into teams. Yeah. He's the rare kind of smallish guard. Now look, maybe the defense is just totally gone with his. They already have Dame in a similar situation.
I guess that's true. I
keep forgetting Dame's on the team.
I keep forgetting that they signed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. But
never mind. That probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a hard time, but I think there could be a team that could talk themselves into Kyrie. Kyrie's still a good player, and he's not like when you trade for James Harden, you have to have an infrastructure built around James Harden, right? Like James Harden has to be the guy. Kyrie can fit into more teams.
I think the Heat would be pretty interested.
They might be. They might be for sure. They have that Terry Rozier contract, which makes trades a lot easier.
Yeah.
And their whole new system is one-on-one.
Yeah.
And like Kyrie was still pretty good at that, even though he had lost a step.
Even if he's like losing a step, you can kind of have Tyler Hero kind of toggle like that on, off and on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I do think, I think Kyrie would be pretty happy in Miami. I think like there's a lot of, Spo could construct a defense that would like protect him. So like, and you probably wouldn't have to give up like a ton for him, like.
Yeah. I mean, it's once again, the hard part with these kind of guys is the contract matching.
Yeah.
And maybe if they get to a point where they don't want to pay Tyler Hero, that could be a trade. Like the swagged up white boys in Dallas, Tyler Hero and Cooper Flag. I actually don't hate that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Look, say what you will about Tyler Hero. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA, and he made the All-Star team. Like, now, do I think it was a little bit of a D'Angelo Russell All-Star team? Yes. But also,
I don't know if I want that being Cooper Flag's mentor, though.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if I want that to be his vet.
I don't think you really have to worry about a bad situation or context around Cooper Flag in Dallas. It's happening.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. I actually think Kyrie could make a lot of sense for that Miami team, but it's just I think they want to go for it now. And like it's just too hard to pull that off.
Yeah, no, it's the other really, could I give you the really, really funny one that Kyrie would like not be happy about, but is hilarious to me?
Mm-hmm.
What about Toronto Raptor Kyrie Irving?
So you take Emmanuel Quickley's contract and pick?
Yeah, we'll pick whatever dog shit salary and picks you.
Like, well, Manreet, who is our local Raptors fan here in the comments, is saying yes in all caps.
Yes.
Well, if you're trading quickly and you get Kyrie back and you give up like a first round pick and a swap or something.
Yeah.
Or RJ, someone saying take RJ, please.
Yeah. I mean, RJ, you would need probably another first at some point.
Well, I think you could get off RJ's contract easier. He makes less money and it's shorter.
Oh yeah. Make RJ. You're saying make him the primary salary. Yeah.
And if you're Dallas, who cares? Like, you're trading Kyrie. You're blowing this thing up. There's some interest. We'll think more about that the more we hear about this stuff. But
yeah. That would be that. I do think that like that wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world though. Him going to like Toronto. Like
Jonathan does bring up a good point. Kyrie leaving America. If there's another pandemic, he would have to come back immediately.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Kyrie would be like thrilled about it, but like it's who's to say? What about Kyrie in charge of the Trae Young vacated Atlanta Hawks? Trae Young, Kyrie Irving challenge trade.
We just talked about on, I think it was the Patreon episode, might have been the last episode we did in full, where we were like, if Nico was still the GM, he could be like, we really regretted trading Trae Young on draft night.
We had to go get him.
If you were the Hawks and you knew Trae Young was going to leave after the season, would you do that?
Yeah.
I think I would do that.
I think I would do that. I think I'd do it if I was the Mavericks too. Like that's probably the best player you're going to get back for ACL Kyrie Irving.
Trae Young for Kyrie. And by the way, like the Hawks are pretty decent without Trae right now. I don't know if that holds. But like, even if Kyrie didn't play the rest of this season, like they basically just did a similar trade in the Porzingis trade.
Yeah.
Where like you take a 1-year flyer on the guy. And then if I'm just assuming Kyrie has 1 year left on his deal after this, right?
I think didn't he just get extended?
Because if he has 2, but I think it was like a 2-year extension.
Okay. I'll find out what's going on here. But
okay. This is amazing. All the slop is coming out now. Tim Cato from DL, the Dallas reporting. He used to work for The Athletic, who covers the Mavs. Just reported that Nico placed Drew Holiday within the same tier of talent as Nikola Jokic. I mean, ring check. Hold on, ring check.
Ring check.
Ring check.
Or no, two. Yeah.
Ring check. Who has more rings? So we just find out that Nico is so ring cultured pilled that Anthony Davis being a champion and Luka Dončić not being a champion is the reason he did the trade.
That's so crazy, dude. That's such an insane thing to do. So Kyrie has 2 years left after this one.
I still think if you're losing Trae Young for nothing, it's worthy to take the flyer on Kyrie for 2 years.
He's 33.
Kyrie's always younger than you think because he was super young when he came into the league. Yeah, I mean, I would consider it if I were Atlanta. Although, knowing them, they'd probably just be like, we'd rather get the books clean than trade for Kyrie Irving. Like, we'd probably just rather go in the other direction and just, not blow it up, but like take a step back, basically, if you're Atlanta. Although they owe their picks, and they have the New Orleans pick. So, like, I don't know. Look, getting Kyrie Irving when you have a bunch of good young players has never gone wrong in the past, right, Sam?
Yeah, there's no way that's ever
happened. That's never went poorly.
Wait, hold on. I'm thinking about it. I'm considering it very powerfully. Kyrie, what if? I know there's too much bad blood there, but like he fucking hates our fans.
Goes back to Boston.
Yeah.
Anthony Simons.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Simons and some other stuff, like it's Kyrie, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. Like I get it. It wasn't like the most comfy fit here, but like let's put it together. Let's put it all to the side, King. Like you and Jalen get along really well. You were Tatum's vet back in the day, but like let's
awesome.
Run it back one more time. Do we want to make a ruling on the Slop Trial?
Yeah, I mean he should go to The Hague.
Yeah, I was gonna Magneto jail Supermax. I really thought that like
this is the first one that I feel like there's no other way around it.
It's going through it like line by line. It's way worse than I remember. This is the most open and shut one we've ever had. Like, honestly, I'd like to take back my tweet. I was incorrect in my tweet. He was not an above average GM. No. He was an erratic GM who didn't really have any sort of like through line in any of his decisions. Yeah.
He was once again one of the most entertaining figures we've ever seen. And it was very much the watch this drive.
Yeah.
He put it all on the line, and sometimes you put it all on the line and you make a trade so horrendously bad that everyone in unison says it is the worst trade. It is so unbelievably terrible that it made all of your old moves bad. It makes all of your future moves, your future look worse. Yeah. And at the time is a horrendous trade. And then on top of that, everyone in unison agrees that there has to be some sort of manipulation from the outside that was going on here, because it's like after a tragedy, it's like after 9/11 happened and we all just couldn't accept what happened. Yeah. And we had to go to, and by the way, all 9/11 conspiracy stuff is true, by the way. I just want to point that out. But anyway, it just shatters your brain so much that you cannot wrap your head around the fact that it actually happened, and you have to come up with alternative theories. We will never see anyone like him again. They will never get anyone in power that does what he did.
It's like he really was kind of a throwback. Like I am looking forward to seeing all these profiles now that beat writers have been given the go ahead to report what was going on around the team. Now that guy is gone.
Yeah, because like the old guys that we talk about that are like, man, this guy, like, he was really terrible at his job. Like, Chris Wallace is one that Bill always brings up from the Grizzlies, and
Khan.
Khan from the Minnesota. Yeah. All of their trades and all of their bad moves were bad, but they weren't. We're going to trade the best player in one of the best players, maybe the best player by the end of his career in our franchise history, in the beginning of his prime, for a washed up Anthony Davis, Max Christie, in a first round pick. There's nothing to compare it to. There will never be anything to compare it to.
It really is one of the most unreal, like, bad trades.
Even like Troy Weaver and like the end of Joe Dumars' tenure, they just had a bunch of paper cut, death by 1,000 paper cut moves.
Troy Weaver is more innocent than Nico Harrison.
We talked about the Troy Weaver during the Troy Weaver Slop Trial, where we were like, we kind of like some of these things. He just went too crazy with giving away stuff to do it. Yeah. Like the draft picks at the time, every draft we came out being like, the Pistons had a pretty good draft. With Nico, you nuked your entire resume, your entire public persona, everything about you, your career, for one stroke of your ego, basically.
We're all just one bad day away from being fired 30 minutes before we're actually fired.
It is that the Shams tweet was great about how he got fired, by the way. They were like, hey, they're about to go into a meeting and fire his ass.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've never seen that before where they pre-report a guy getting fired.
Unbelievable.
He was like fucking Tim Robinson in the sketch. Oh my God, did you hear Nico just got fired? That fucking idiot. What? And his trade looks so stupid. Oh my God, he's fucking crying. He's fucking crying in the meeting. Saying, no, the trade is actually good.
So do you think, the last thing I want to ask you before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Do you think that Nico Harrison's ego was so massive that after everyone was telling him he was a fucking idiot, and there was massive backlash after the Luka trade for the coming days, that he had a moment of reflection of like, man, I really fucked up? Or do you think he was just like, I'll prove them all wrong?
Definitely the second one.
Because he said at the press conference when they got the number 1 pick, like, oh, the fans are going to start to see the vision. And it's like, you just lucked into the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
You did not do anything.
Leonard Nimoy Simpson's, well, it looks like my work here is done.
You didn't do anything. It is legitimately, I mean, just a horrifying series of events. And honestly, I hope for Mavericks fans, this can be the next step in the grieving process and you can move on. And hopefully they can reconfigure this team around Flag and make it normal in the next few years, because
if they get a real player, you know, I will see who Michael Finley's running the
is that who they replaced him with to start?
I think so. I think Michael Finley, I think it was like a joint power sharing thing, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, then he might do a decent job. We'll see. We'll see. Michael Finley, I believe in you. I think you can't do any worse.
Seriously. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm praying for Dallas. Prayers out to Dallas. This is tough.
Yep. You do have to feel a little bit encouraged though that Cooper Flag was the first person to have a 25-point game as an 18-year-old since LeBron James, right? I mean, it's not a lot of players that have been 18 in the NBA since LeBron, but
everyone is clowning me because he's had like I'm still completely like locked in on Cooper. I do not does not change how I feel about him like whatsoever.
I mean, I don't necessarily feel any different than I felt before either. Like I think that a lot of really good players struggle out of the gate in the NBA and then they usually find their way, especially ones that are as young as Cooper Flag.
Sorry, last thing before we get out of here. We do need to talk about the fact that it is November 11th and we are getting our third Sixers Celtics game tonight.
It's absurd.
It's so annoying, dude. Like, both these teams are going to be pretty good. I think they thought both teams were going to be dog shit.
So get them out of the way.
Burn them off early in the year. I think both of these teams are going to be in the playoffs one way or another. Maybe not
some capacity.
Maybe I play in, but like, I do think both of these teams are making the playoffs. So
I think they probably will, or at least they'll be in the play-in at a minimum. But yeah, no, it's fucking disgusting, and it drives me insane when they do this shit.
Oh my God! Wait, did you see the tweet?
Although I guess hold up before, if Tatum does come back, we get the games without Tatum. So anyway, continue.
Nico, in the entire time, he only saw Kyrie and AD play a game together. They played one game together, dude.
What is up with Kyrie and superstars with D? I guess he did play a decent amount of games with Kevin Durant. It was just with James Harden as the trio that they didn't really get to play a lot of games. But no. All right. Well, thank you, Nico Harrison, for providing us with so much 9 months of great content.
Guilty! Send him to hell!
The most guilty anyone can ever be.
He really is one of the most. He's probably the most guilty of any GM we've done.
We're so lenient in these things. We're like, we give a lot of GMs the benefit of the doubt. I'm not giving him any.
I was thinking that I was going to try to push for a mistrial because I knew he wasn't getting off. I was going to try to push for a mistrial, but once I got in here and saw the moves, I was like, no way.
Even Sam's contrarian brain could not come up
with
a configuration to make him.
I had to pivot to Kyrie Irving's coming back to Boston. As my.
You having a delusion about the Celtics? Or the Mavericks?
I'm just saying. I said they would be 500, and then Tatum would come back in February. And I'm just saying, like,
to be clear,
all according to plan.
To be clear, you said you specifically said
Late
that. What's that?
Late February.
You specifically said it doesn't matter when Jason Tatum comes back, and I was like, it absolutely does.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A 500 team will make the play-in.
Probably at this rate in the Eastern Conference, with the way that it's gone. But I'll have something special for you guys tomorrow on Wednesday. So keep an eye on the Ball YouTube channel. It has not been officially announced, but it's something cool and fun that we're doing with Playback. And then we'll be back for the Patreon episode later this week.
Let's go.
Take care.